we actually have a ton of stuff going on this morning. Didn't start the way I wanted. I get all the way to Starbucks. Espresso machine's not working right. Your order will be ready in about 10 or 15 minutes. That's a hard no. Think of, for those of you who I know that every place has mobile orders, but you rely on the mobile order now. You order it ahead, depending on if you live in a busy place. You order it 15 minutes ahead, knowing that when you get there, it'll be ready. Wasn't that long ago? That's what drive-thrus were for. And now when the mobile order's not ready on time, you're like, oh, can't believe you don't have my mobile order ready immediately when I walk in the door. So I couldn't wait though. I had to take the kids to school. That's good. So I didn't start the day the way I wanted to, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. We haven't had the greatest week thus far. We didn't have any of our heavy hitters in. We didn't have any of our horses get in the classes where they looked like they would dominate. Last week we had a great looking week. Wednesday was a hiccup, but everything else seemed pretty good for the most part. Expectations were met for the most part. This week, not the same. No looks like money. No time is on my side. And even on Monday, I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen. Does Drebin drop down? Does Spitfire Overseas drop down? Hopefully they put him in the backup class and we can move Drebin back. No, they get in together. Now, exciting night tonight. We have a bunch. Foxy Seaside is really, we'll talk about the horses that we're moving and looking to move and will move in the future. And I'd said this the other day, the one thing to remember is for every 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 horses that don't cut the mustard, that don't get there, that just don't reach any sort of our expectations and how we'd want them to be as sophomores, as 3-year-olds. For every so many of them, you're going to get a Foxy Seaside who, truthfully, you turn them out and you hope they come back good, but it looks like, man, you could extrapolate a lot of talent from this filly, and who knows where her ceiling is right now. She's learning to be versatile. We already know she can, race on the front. We already know she can race up near the lead, but James has been racing her from way off the pace, and she has been excelling. Country dancing tonight. Her qualifiers admittedly have been a little bit flat, but it seemed to me like she was just getting better, and that's important. James said last week she was much better last week's qualifier than the week before. So there's movement. Maybe she just needed some more fast miles. We'll see. We have a lot going on this morning. I think we have 13 horses training. I'll bring you a video because today is not my favorite day. Time is on my side, wasn't in, so I didn't go to the meadows. That's an X right away. And then Ollie, with his schedule, with the weather and his schedule being scattered, I just thought that whenever we could... See, here's the thing. Those kids are going to Cooperstown this year. So the coaches are really pushing them. And they know that we come from quite a long ways away for Ollie to be part of this team. But, as a parent, I want to do everything I can to make sure that he gets what he needs, right? He has what he wants. And he asked to play in Guelph again this year. Now, you guys know we're in Ohio right now. So at noon, I'm going to pick him up from school a little early, drive 4 hours and 20 minutes to Guelph for him to practice for 2 hours. But today is going to be a little more difficult because all the babies are training tomorrow. So I'm driving the 4 hours and 20 minutes back tonight. I'll be back just before midnight. And you might think that's crazy or stupid, but to me it's important. If for no other reason, not for myself, not for you, not for anybody else, but so that when he grows up, he understands, without even thinking about it, at some point there's going to be a moment of clarity in his life where he looks back and says, My parents literally drove me 4 hours to practice in another country. And I hope he's a better adult for it. So that's the plan for today. It's not my favorite day. I'm going to train as quickly as we can up till 11:30. Drive down to Ollie's school, pick him up, drive to Canada, Ontario, have him practice, and drive straight back to Brunswick, Ohio. We should be home before midnight. So that's the plan for today. As I said, hopeful tonight that the horses race well. We have not had a great week, but we didn't have a lot of at-bats, so to speak. Yesterday's race with Irresistible Sun really bothered me, and it's the worst kind of frustration because this is the 4th start in a row he was flat. We've drawn his blood and scoped him. Nothing really jumped out. Mild tie-up, but the kind of tie-up where you'd say, hey, he was a little flat. Not like yesterday. He was looking to retreat yesterday, and I haven't very often remembered that horse doing that. Here's a horse that we got all the equipment off, right? And for those of you out there that think, the hobbles slow them down, or, they're just better as they're more fluid gated, take note. This horse wears a bridle with no head check and bandages behind now. Nothing else. When he was 3, he wore knee boots. We changed to knee tape. He wore bell boots behind, up front. He wore trotting boots and vet wrap behind. He wore trotting hobbles. He wore a head pole on the left, closed bridle. All of that, for the most part, is gone. And yet, he doesn't seem to be nearly as effective as he was then. Now, in fairness to Irresistible Sun, we've never seen him race in the winter with corks on, have we? Saw him train down, never saw him race. The reason I say this is because those are the usual culprits. Tying up, sickness, bleeding, just blood being a little bit off. These are the things that generally cause horses to behave in this manner. None of them are present with Irresistible Sun. So, we're going to draw his blood again today. We're going to go back to the drawing board. He's going to come back to Ohio. We're going to send Memory and Imagination over to Pennsylvania. He's fine in that class. In fact, he's a better fit in that class right now, the way that Sonny's racing. It's the most frustrating thing because this is a horse that I thought would be an open trotter in the winter. Literally. I thought he'd be an open backup class trotter here at Northfield. Make some appearances in Miami Valley. Be a very effective horse for us. And instead, he's been quite the opposite. That's upsetting, because I can't tell you why. So, as we do say all the time also, these are living, breathing animals, and they're not always going to be perfect. And, for Sonny, he's not. Just 1 second. How we doing, Eric? Century Legion warming up to train. Everybody's training today. A big training day here at the barn. So the Sonny thing really bothered me yesterday. It kept me up a little bit last night. For those of you, I'm not a big hockey watcher. My brother James and Curtis watch hockey nonstop. Avid fans. James is a Penguins fan. Huge Sidney Crosby fan. Curtis is a Canadiens fan. Now, I was a Bruins fan growing up, but I didn't play hockey. They did. I watched all the replays. I watched some of the games, but I wasn't an avid hockey watcher like some people are, especially in Canada, right? But I watched every second of that game last night. It's just such a political divide right now, isn't it? And it was, as a Canadian, it was nice to see them win. It was high-level hockey, you can tell. Anytime you have a sport that people watch and you have people playing it at the highest level, it's always exciting. And it certainly was last night. So for all the Canadians out there, congratulations. For the Americans, you're just going to have to win everything else, I guess. So, yeah, so Sunny was bothersome to me. We're just going to have to, it's the same thing, right? I tell you, when all else fails, revert back to work, right? Revert back to basics. And that's what we're going to do with Sunny over the next couple of weeks. You may or may not see him in next week, depending on how his blood looks. But I want to get a feel for what is going on with him. Now, although expectations weren't met with high hopes last night, it's not that shocking. And I said to Dominic, I said, Dom, we sent you a bunch of question marks a few months ago. A bunch of question marks. Some of them are answered now, some of them are not. Foxy Seaside, I'm tickled pink over. You did a tremendous job. The filly is transformed into that, multi-dimensional filly that we were hoping to see. We knew the speed was there, but, would she be able to put it all together in her noodle? Would she be able to put all the tools back in the box properly? And it would be hard for me to race her last start and draw a line from where she was to where she is. And that's a tremendous job by Dominic and James, and by the filly, quite frankly, for growing up, maturing, understanding her work, and then facilitating that good work ethic and translating it into good lines. So exciting to watch her start to begin her 3-year-old career, her sophomore career. And on the other side of things, a horse like High Hopes. Listen, she never showed that she was a super talented filly. She had a nice gait, decent family. This is the second one of this family we had. And although I liked her, was there depth? And it just seemed like last night Jody drove her right. The track's slow over there. I know somebody said, oh my God, they went 2-2. Well, the track is slow over there to begin with right now. That's just the way it is with the weather that they had. But slow for everybody. And I just don't see a stake caliber filly at any level in High Hopes. So she'll likely be leaving us also. And this is the time of year when we start to move those horses out, and we have objections from people saying, hey, you just need to give that horse a few more starts. I think we've given High Hopes more than enough starts, right? And you're going to see more of this also. I'm hopeful that the horses will turn out well and do well, but if they're not, then they can't stay. And that's just the way it was. Same way with Leggy the other night. Decent filly. I think she's better than her line the other night, but still light years away from being any sort of competitive stake horse or even an overnight horse. It's a filly we had to maiden claimer the other night. So I know, listen, I'm your partner on many of these horses. I might be the majority owner of High Hopes, but the reality doesn't change. For that. She is what she is. She's not what we need her to be. She's simply not a stable horse. You guys, we have expectations and we want to do good. And if we want to go on the track, it's easy for me to say, you need to put them in a position to win. You need to have them going on the track as one of the favorites, not as a long shot. But if that class doesn't exist, it's not very easy to do. So today, more than likely, we'll move High Hopes the same way we did Leggy. So that's where we're at right now with the horses. And then obviously Texong Soprano raced good last night. Tough to blast from post 6 at Yonkers, and then stave off challenges from decent trotters throughout the mile to win. I think it was Brent Holland drove the horse. An admirable drive. He drove the horse as well as he could. He gave the horse a chance, and a great job by Megan. It's just you can only do so much. 1 second. Is that hard to know? Yeah. How is he? Good? Oh, good. I was just checking on. I'm just standing by the barn here, sitting by the barn here for the next couple of minutes till we get training, and seeing our babies go by that are ready to train tomorrow. That's had to know that foot separation's been bothering him for a few weeks. He looked good when he was jogging by, and then I asked Jason. He said, no, he jogged perfect. Great. Good job. So Texong Soprano raced good. High Hopes just isn't good. There's not much you can do about that. Certainly not Mohawk caliber trotter. Certainly not what I would consider a stake filly of any kind, and I think she'd struggle over here anyway. So we're probably going to move her. And then Irresistible Sun was just extremely disappointing. But that is racing. As I said, they're living, breathing animals. They're not always going to be awesome. They're going to have struggles and hiccups, and there's nothing you can do about that along the way. Now, today, Really excited about tonight. Oh, he'll know Rosetta are in together. I wish they weren't in together, but they are. James asked me point blank, what do you think? I said, well, Rosetta is my biggest concern because I think she's on the cusp of becoming a really fast filly, but struggles a bit in the straightaways. Now, obviously, we sent her to a track with bigger straightaways, but that's because she's New Jersey, Kentucky. And I want to make sure that she learns to stretch out. She gets more comfortable on the bigger surface, on the bigger straightaways. So that's why she's over there. James is going to drive her. I believe Jody. Yep, Jody is going to drive Oh He'll Know at 6-1. What are the odds on Rosetta? 4-1. Rosetta's a super fast filly. I personally don't think she's going to have a problem with this class tonight. If she behaves, she trots, and gets along well with James. Oh He'll Know is a very similar horse, but let's get over there, I think. Very similar horse, but not quite too well experience-wise, and then obviously raw speed-wise at the level she's at right now. I think Oh He'll Know can get there, can get back to there and get there. Just don't know if she's there yet where Rosetta is. She won in 58 2 weeks ago. Went in 58 2 weeks ago at the Meadows, and then was an easy kind of winner the other night, and was not. Now, we did not change her shoes. We did not change her equipment. I think for the first thing we'll do is let her hobbles out, see what James thinks of her like that. But intrigued to watch her go, and then obviously very excited to watch Country Dancing race. Chevron's Bypass is finally in a place where she can do good. You know, James and I talked about her. I said, I just don't think you can have her out too wide in the last turn anywhere. Where are you going now? I don't know who Amy's going it with. And then Foxy Seaside, is she up? But she's picked to win, I believe, 5-2. So it's an exciting night there. I see Bluebird's on the list, but Bluebird's also eligible on the list. We're actually going to bring Bluebird back here. He's entered for the Meadows next week. He likely won't get in, and we'll qualify him. We have like 6 or 7 horses to qualify next Thursday now, so it's going to be a full slate for sure. Blue Ventura on Saturday also, 10-1. Another horse that likely just has to make his way back over here. Arson and Neptune are both, Arson's 8-1. That's very polite from post 8. We'll see how he does. And then, of course, Neptune at 5-1. He's in a good place, I believe. Sunday, the next big day for me. I see that I don't have any drives on Saturday. I think I told the race office I would come and drive some horses here Saturday evening, if I'm not mistaken. Sunday, Patrick DePrana galloped. I galloped him, but I found his demeanor different this time. Before, when I galloped him 2 weeks ago, he was good, but he was, you could tell, listen, I know what I'm doing, just leave me alone type matter-of-fact attitude. Yesterday, he was back to his kind of ignorant, rude ways, and then when he galloped, he really wanted to just run right through the bridle, and better. Seems very, very good right now. So we'll see how Patrick races on Sunday. Greatest endings in also. 3-Point Blue Chip drew the outside, but trained very, very good here yesterday. Jason was very happy with him. Memory and Imagination was the one he trained with, and he trained very good also. Jason made a point to call me and tell me how well those two horses trained. And then JK Victory. 6-hole, I much rather 2-hole like we had last Sunday. 6-hole, 3-1 morning line. We'll see how that plays out. And then, of course, we have Drebin and Spitfire Overseas on Monday. So that's what took place yesterday. That's what took place this morning. I'll bring you a little video on our way back to Ontario this afternoon, just talking about how all the horses trained, and we have a lot of horses to train today. So with that, I will let you go. I hope you have a good start to your Friday morning, your weekend. Tune in if you want. We're going to have our qualifiers from Mohawk. We have both the Rose runs in today. You know, I felt bad. We had a couple of clients that didn't want to get licensed in Ontario for the Rose Run horses. My take on the Rose Run horses are simple. I'm going to defer until after the qualifiers when I talk to Harry and I talk to James, which is fine. But I wanted to stretch both those horses out. I firmly believe that Rose Run AJ and Rose Run Alexandra can do in an Almors of 2, an Almors of 3 type scenario and setting in Ontario. I think they're both very talented horses in their own respect, but I also understand when we have Ohio owners that own 1 or 2% and don't want to get licensed in Ontario. I get that. But my overall objective and my goal is to make sure the horses are in the right place to do the best job for us, and also to help facilitate you and do what's best for you. Now, it's not that hard to do. If I always try to do what's right for the horse, it's always what I'm trying to do is right for you also. So I know in one instance the gentleman had sold his shares of Roser and AJ, which I feel bad about because the horse is going to come back here. But at the same time, I think he's in the right place. Now, if he goes out and qualifies mediocrely today, then he will be coming to Ohio. But I firmly believe, I would be surprised if I get a call from James saying Roser and AJ and Alexander just aren't good enough for Mohawk. I would be thoroughly shocked if I got that message from James. So my belief is they're both going to qualify well. They'll both come back and qualify again next week, and then Harry will race them. I know a lot of people saying, oh, they're eligible to the Nommers 2 series in Miami Valley. Yeah, so is every other 3-year-old filly with less than 2 wins or 20 or 30,000 made life. Be careful, right? If they can do in Ontario, they're staying in Ontario until the stakes start. I don't want to rush over here and think you're going to run down to Miami Valley and clean up. There is plenty of talent waiting down there. Remember, that's where Dan Noble's horses are. That's where Virgil Morgan's horses are. And an entire Ron Burke's horses, Ohio breds. Don't think they won't be ready. It's not a cakewalk anywhere. When you're a 3-year-old with 2, 3, 4, 5 wins, it's tough racing every week. So just eager to see how they start their 3-year-old season today. Eager to see how they qualify. I don't expect a ton today. I know Harry's planned on training them in 2-1 last week. I suspect he did. So if that's the case, then probably looking at a 59 2-minute mile today, come back with a 57, 58 mile next week, and then go from there. And that is what I assume will happen moving forward. So with that, I did it again. I turned a very depressing update from Thursday into a optimistic 22-minute video today. For those of you who hate hearing me ramble, my apologies. For those of you who don't mind, hey, you're welcome. Have a wonderful Friday start to your weekend. We'll talk again this afternoon. Take care.